Hi everybody, I'm Colin. I'm the author of the Vassal mod for GMT Games Fields of Fire. I combined volumes 1 and 2 into one module, and you can download that from the Vassal website. I put this video together. It's my first ever how-to video, so I do apologise for the quality. I was asked to put it together to talk through some of the features of the Vassal mod. The Vassal mod is pretty true to the game, although there are some features in there that are slightly different in that it's got some automated hit result working out. It's got a few extra counters here and there, which I'll talk through. My first top tip though, if you're going to play Vassal, or if you're going to play Fields of Fire or any Vassal game on a PC, is have a PDF of the rule book in the background. This is a PDF of the Volume 2 rules, final. You can download that from the GMT website. Have it in the background, then with Control F, you get a question about, for example, what's Crossfire all about? You can then just search it, and you can find all about Crossfire and any other question you have. I would seriously recommend having that running in the background. So then, to then get the Vassal mod. So fire up the Vassal mod. The first thing to do is just start a new game. That you'll be asked to choose your background. The backgrounds don't make any difference to the game. They're to add a bit of flavour. You don't have to use the Chosin background when you're playing the Chosin campaign. Some of them are pictures, some of them are maps, some of them are generic kind of graphics. Some are darker, some are lighter. I quite like the Arnhem one because it's got a bit of light background to it. So we'll have that one for this. And then you'll also get asked which helicopters do you want to use. Obviously, for early campaigns, there aren't any helicopters, so you can either just select no helicopters, or you can choose the one. They're all the same. It's just literally the graphics on it. So we'll pick the US Army helicopter staging areas for this. And then that will launch the main thing. Here's the Arnhem background. So I quite like it because it's light. And then at the top, you've got the Vassal interface with the various buttons on there, and I'll just walk through those. Unit pieces, these are friendly and enemy pieces, troops by all nationalities and all units. So this is the 5th Marines, and you'll see there are different lists for different campaigns. And that is because when you get to the core units, a rifle section in World War II in Korea is different to that in Vietnam, because obviously the Vietnam versions have the grenade launchers, they have the automatic rifles, so you'll get different boss. So just select your appropriate nationality that you are. And then, like I said, you've got all the enemy units here as well. And then whichever you select, you've then got tabs for the platoons or the core units, leaders, any observers, machine guns and support, any heavy weapons, and the LATs. Again, broken down where appropriate by the volume of the game. So that's the unit pieces. Marker pieces. In here you'll find all the counters from the game. You've got activity environment, you've got control markers, these are your various attack positions and lines of departure and things. You've got your cover markers. You can also get these from the cards, which I'll show you later. There are some extra counters throughout. So this one here is the not spotted marker that I made. I don't like using the reverse of the PC marker. I don't think it stands out enough for me, so I made this with a red outline. It's just so it's very clear that when a unit comes on board, an enemy unit, it's not spotted. You can mark it clearly. There are a few others scattered around. In assets, for example, you've got some sort of night sights which aren't in the game. You've got thermal imaging and image intensifying. Ammo markers are there. If you want to use them, there is a function on the counters that counts ammo for you. They will either be numbers like this that you can increase and decrease with the right click menu, or they might be rotational ones, like in the game too. Next are the action cards. These are obviously the drivers for the game. When I play and then I get told to draw 3 cards, I'll just pick them like this, read it, and then pick another one, then pick another one. This is the discard pile on the right. But you can drop them onto the board if you want a bit more time to look at them. And then there is a button up here, the very last button on the top, discard action cards, that puts them all into the discard pile. There's a shuffle card in there. When you get the shuffle card, there's a right click here for reshuffle into deck, and that will just automatically reshuffle the cards. Next up are all the at start decks. for the various campaigns and the various countries. The first one here is staging control. I made some staging area cards to save you having to use the back of a card, which seemed sensible. I didn't have the constraints of fitting everything into a box. And then you've got the various counters here, so handy counters like your line of departure. You can create your map like this. Limit advance. We'll make a 1 row by 3 column, very small map for this demonstration. You've got objective markers and right markers and phase lines. If there's stuff there, that control markers that you aren't there that you need, then obviously you can get them from the marker tab up here and just drag these out onto the board. And then you have the at-start stack. So in each of these, for each of the campaigns, you've got the card deck, the terrain deck, and you've also got the starting counters. Be careful with the starting counters. You don't necessarily get everything that is there. Check your briefing book for your TO&E or your All-Bat or your starting counters. So in Hue, for example, due to the doctrine that they used, they switched from using bipod machine guns to tripod machine guns halfway through. So they're all on the at-start deck, but you don't get both types. So do just check what you're allowed to use. It depends which campaign you're on, how the cards behave. This is a Normandy card, and it will flip that side up because when you lay out Normandy decks, that's how it works. Some of them don't work quite the same. This is Korea. They will stay flipped. And when you get them into line of sight, you can right-click them and flip, and it will then reveal what that is. The Volume 2 decks are different. So the campaigns there and the missions there work off set maps. They're not random maps. So this is the Pacific. So you lay your surf zone, then you lay your beach, and you'll create your map in that way. If you want to send them back, you can select them and return them to the deck. Other slightly different ones. So Hue, on the right click, you've got draw specific cards. Again, when you're creating the map for Hue, you need a complex building. This is H46. H46. And also if you need H47, you can control and click it. Click OK, drag them on, then you'll find you've got your two different buildings here to lay where you're meant to put them. Similarly, Falklands mod's got a similar one. You've got random terrain, which comes face up when you draw it, and also you've got selectable terrain. So the Falklands in particular, quite often you have a hill line, so you might want to go and get 3 hills, say, drag the 3 hills onto the board, and then you've got your 3 hills. Okay, so that is the counters and terrain. Then on this row, bottom row on mine, you've got command display. So this is where you have your command counters that you can move up and down when you get activated. You can flip them and it will show activation complete. There's a phase marker here to keep track of where you are in the game. There's reports up in the console, help you remember where you are. You've got an activity tracker if you want it. You've got the weather, or the daylight rather. Then you've got the weather that you can set your specific conditions for your mission for. Charts. So charts, these are handy things. So in particular handy, there's a turn sequence. Have this up. Playing Fields of Fire can be complicated. I think we all acknowledge that. But if you follow the turn sequence summary, it's actually relatively straightforward once you get into the swing of it. So I would recommend referring to that a lot. There is also something here which I'll show in a second, which might help. You then obviously got the various things. You've got all your command and control actions, your 4.2s, which tell you what you can do, what draws you get, what modifiers there are, what they do. Infantry combat is various things to do with infantry. AT combat is anti-tank. You've also got the excuse me. You've also got the vehicle tables with all the data that you need for those. Enemy contact. You've got the potential contact draw, remind you how many cards to draw, under which condition, which current activity level, and which PC marker. And then if you pull this down, you've got all the force packages as well. Activity check hierarchy, so this will tell you what the enemy are going to do, depends whether This is defensive if it's delay, hasty, or deliberate defense. Offense, whether it's assault or overrun, etc., etc., and the various things in there. Miscellaneous, random stuff. Most useful ones probably the spotting attempt draw, and then turn sequence I mentioned. So mission log. I don't use this mission log. I've left it in the app, in the module, because I think some people might, and they might get annoyed if I take it out, but I never use it. I just combination of putting assets onto the command card, the command display, and also I just run a Word document in the background with what's going on and who's casualties and all that sort of stuff. And then you've got a few things here. You've got activity level, turn sequence, and turn. You can tick through whether you're in contact or engaged or heavily engaged, etc. You can keep ticking through this to remind you what the next phase is. I tend to use the turn sequence in the chart rather than that. And then you've got your turn here. So these can be useful if you're going to save the game and leave it somewhere. You can go back to this one and say, okay, I was in turn 5 and I was in the general initiative impulse when I left the game. But yeah, you can use those if you like. Potential contact markers. These could be dragged out onto the board. Or you can send a stack if you want a BC randoms. You can send a stack to the random draw pile. And this is now a mix of the B and Cs. So hopefully we'll get at least one of each. CCB. So that's how that works. If you need to put them back and then say you need an AB next, and all the Bs are mixed in here, the thing I found is draw multiple cards, add a really big number like 200, draw them all to the deck, and then send them back to the stack, and they'll go back, and then you can resend A and B to the random draw, and then pull random draws A's and B's from there. A to B. Okay, so that's a top tip for how to use that. Helicopter staging areas. This is the card that you picked at the start for if you're using helicopters. And then a couple of things here. So in phase 3.7.1a, that's the phase where all the fire missions strike or lift. So I'll just put a fire mission on here. So this is a pending fire mission. If you click this button when you get to 3.7.1a, it will flip that over to its arriving side, its incoming side. And then if you click it again the next turn, that will then remove that, and obviously it would flip any other pendings that are on the board to the incoming side. Similarly, cleanup. Cleanup does a lot in the cleanup phase. It takes pyrotechnics out, it removes grenade strikes, it removes exposed markers, it removes the activated markers off vehicles and all that sort of stuff. And then the discard action cards is, as I said, that's to move the action cards back to the discard pile. So that's it for this video. That's the general run through. In the next segment, I will sort of set up a small mission, and we can look at some of the functionality regarding counters and all the rest of it. So I hope that's useful. See you in the next one.